Hello, dear friends. Here we are, 12 encounters with the Divine Friend. We need a Divine Friend to really help us at all ends. We need a Divine Friend to really inspire us. And today is day 9. Yes, today is day 9. Did you know we've been here on a daily basis for non-stop 150 days, which is pretty much like 5 months. Believe it or not, yes, we've been together with you on a daily basis, 5 months in a row, non-stop. Yes, and it's a joy to be here. Our lives are transformed as we speak. And we have been building this beautiful intercontinental community that supports each other, heart to heart, thought to thought, and action to action, right? And the Divine Friend is unsurpassing. We all need the joy of being with the Divine Friend. We all need it. Did you know that today, you see this picture over here? It's the picture of the Last Supper. It's the day we are celebrating around the world, that very moment. That day in which Jesus gathered all the disciples together to give the last instructions, to eat together the last meal, and to share with us the last advices, the last warnings. In the book Good News, we've discussed that. And today, we're going to recap, but in a different way. Yes, we're going to study chapter 3 from the book Luz Acima. Luz Acima, by Humberto de Campos, through Chico Xavier. Chapter 3, The Little History of the Disciple. Shall we? In that passage, we're going to be able to recap that Last Supper moment. And by doing so, we're going to be reminded about what is it that we need to do together. Shall we? All right, so let us say hi to the beautiful community and be together. Hello, Julija. How is everything? A blessing, huh? Hello, Valéria. How are you? It's good to have you here, Valéria. Sunshine, how are you? And Cesa, how are you, Cesa? Rihanna, how are you? Leia Severo, how is everything, Leia? Thank you. Katia, Margaret, how are you, Margaret? How are you, Katia? And Patricia, how are you, Patricia? And Rudy, happy evening, friends. You know, as we were saying, we have been here together 150 days, pretty much like 5 months, non-stop, daily. And it's been a journey, and as Julija is mentioning, it is a blessing to be here, right, Julija? We are blessed by God for the opportunity of being here. Because as you know, and I know too, as we speak, there are many people who either don't have such resources or who do not have the freedom to think because they are subjugated by obsessions, true cruelty, problems of all sorts. So thinking of all those around the world, let us study today and hope, asking God that these blessings may reach them, may make them feel nourished, may make them feel encouraged, may make them feel more hopeful. As Jesus said once, how many people are carrying crosses of all sorts? We hope that this unity here every day, especially tonight, gives those who are in extreme difficulty renewing strength. May they feel the presence of the Divine Friend. Right, Justina? Welcome. Hello, Jussara. Welcome. Ready? Let us visualize ourselves seated like in the Last Supper, around the table with the Divine Friend. Let us make this moment feel like that. Okay? Hello, Duska. How are you? Chapter 3 from the book Luz Acima by Humberto de Campos through Chico Xavier. Little history of the disciple. When the master visited the apprentice for the first time, he found him immersed in the reading of divine information. He saw the apprentice absorbed in search for wisdom and said, "Blessed be the son of superior knowledge." And the master went ahead, handling the apprentice to the care of his agents. The master returned later to revisit the apprentice, and he was struck with enthusiasm by the marvelous. The master felt overwhelmed by the clarity of the revelation, proposing to spread it throughout every corner of the earth. Actually, the apprentice wanted to gain the world for the Supreme Lord. The apprentice multiplied promises of personal sacrifice and theoretically interpreted salvation by absolute service of contemplative hope. The eternal companion stroked his dreamy brow and said, "Praised be the apostle of the ideal." And the master went forth, entrusting the disciple to dedicated messengers. On another occasion, the master returned to observe the apprentice, and he registered a new change. The apprentice was guided by combative purposes. Through the knowledge and the ideal he had acquired, the apprentice presumed to be in possession of the universal reality. He created a war without blood against all who were not at his evolutionary level. He recorded incendiary signs in order to purify the circles of religious belief. The apprentice accused, judged, and punished without commiseration. He nourished the strange voluptuousness of lining up his opponents. He wanted to destroy and renew everything. In that way, he did not know respect for his neighbor. He did not observe the simplest rules of good manners, thus leading himself to grave responsibilities in the future. However, the compassionate master, acknowledging the apprentice's crystalline sincerity, stroked his unquiet hands and enunciated, "Help be the defender of the truth." And the master went to other places, delivering the apprentice to the protection of faithful missionaries. Going back to the circle of the follower at a different time, the master observed the apprentice in a different position. The disciple had given himself to the systematic preaching of uplifting principles that he had adopted, conditioning them to his points of view. He wrote pages and made poignant speeches. He projected in the hearers of the vibration of his faith. He was the conductor of the masses, the hero of exquisite words, both spoken and written. The sublime instructor embraced him and declared, "Enlightened be the minister of the heavenly word." And the master gained other directions, assigning the apprentice to the inspiration of valiant emissaries. Drawn years along, the magnanimous master returned and observed the transformation of the apprentice. The apprentice displayed wounds in the soul. He bitterly reflected that the conquest of the world was not so easy. Though sincere, the apprentice had been confronted by the falsehood of others. Desirous of doing the good, the apprentice was incessantly targeted by evil. He was surrounded by thorns. He endured slander and sarcasm, targeted by the ridiculous among those he loved the most. The apprentice's mind was filled with doubts and pernicious fears. He was misunderstood in the best of his intentions. If he gave bread, he received stones. If he turned on the light, it provoked persecutions from darkness. He read the holy books like the hungry looking for food. The apprentice sustained his ideals with difficulty, without a tail. He taught the superior path with a broken heart and bleeding feet. The sage of all sages wiped the apprentice's copious sweat and said, "Beloved be the pilgrim of experience." And the master went his way on the road, entrusting the apprentice to loving benefactors. Some time later, the Savior returned and pointing out the surprising situation. Crying inward, the disciple recognized that much more difficult than the conquest of the world was the conquest of himself. At the peak of culminating teachings, the apprentice also surrendered to the inferior forces. Though standing, he knew inside how bitter is the taste of the mud in the mouth. He had often given in to the less dignifying suggestions that he always fought against. He had learned that if it was easy to teach the good to others, it was always difficult and painful to build it in himself. He, who had condemned vanity and selfishness, self-indulgence and pride, found that he had not dislodged such monsters from his own soul. He renounced the fight with the exterior in order to fight with his inner self. He was living under the pressure of a renovating storm. Aware of his own weaknesses and imperfections, he trusted, above all, in the Almighty, to whose infinite goodness he submitted his torturous individual problems through prayer and vigilance amongst tears. The divine friend dried his tears and exclaimed, "Blessed be the brother of pain that sanctifies." And you may be asking, "Vanessa, isn't he already at the top of the mountain?" No. What is it then? The last one? The culmination of it all? Listen to this. And the master kept his way, commending the apprentice to the heavenly contributors. Years have gone by, and the merciful master returned and admired the diverse situation. the disciple had renewed himself completely. He preferred to be silent so that others could be heard. He analyzed the difficulties of others by stumbling blocks he had encountered on the path. The understanding in his soul was sweet and spontaneous, with no tendency to be superior, one that humiliates. He saw brothers and sisters everywhere, and he was willing to help them and to support them without worrying about reward. In his eyes, the children of other homes should be as beloved as the children of the roof where he was born. He understood the painful dramas of the neighbors. The apprentice honored the elderly ones. He extended protective hands to children and youth. He read the sacred writings, but he also saw the eternal wisdom in the working bee, in the distant cloud, in the murmur of the wind. He rejoiced in the joy and well-being of his friends as much as he shared his misfortunes. Envy and jealousy, spite and anger did not disturb the apprentice's inner sanctuary. He did not feel the need to forgive because he loved the fellow creatures as Jesus had taught him. He prayed for the opponents of the way, convinced that they were not evil, but ignorant and incapable. He helped the ungrateful, remembering the green fruit cannot offer the taste of the one that is mature. He cried of joy, alone in prayer of praise, recognizing the extent of the blessings he had received from heaven. He interpreted pains and problems as means of substantial improvement. The struggles were for him ascensional steps. In his view, the wicked were unhappy brothers in need of brotherly compassion. His word never condemned. His feet did not walk in vain. His ears were attentive to the good. His eyes always looked up. His hands always helped. He attuned his mind to the higher sphere. Now, his greatest desire was to know the Master's program and to fulfill it. He was happy to be ready to serve everyone. He knew that it was imperative to protect the weak, so the fragility would not push the individual to dust. He helped the strong so that the force, not properly applied, would not demean him. He kept knowledge, ideal, enthusiasm, combativeness in favor of the good. The benefactoring experience and enlightenment prayer, but above all, the apprentice understood the need to reflect on the will of God in the service of others. His words were clothed with celestial science. Unmistakable humility was a glorious halo on his forehead. Wherever he passed by, the children of the shadows gathered around him, seeking in his soul the light that they almost always love without understanding. Encountering the apprentice in such a state, the Lord, our divine friend, held the apprentice in his arms, heart to heart, proclaiming, "Blessed is the faithful servant who seeks the divine will of our Father." And from that time on, the Master, the divine friend, lived with the disciple forever. true, super true. Yes, everything is about vibration. Today, during the day meditations, our dear mentor Joseph was saying, Vanessa, we are vibrational imprints in people's lives. What kind of vibrational imprint are we living? We're learning that there are several levels and we can adjust. Make our resolution be ever more clear. What is your vibrational imprint? It's a byproduct of lives of experiences plus this life. What is it? This lesson here today also is a checklist for us, so we can identify where we are. Because one thing is for sure, we already want to follow the divine friend. So that's step number 1. Search for knowledge, for divine information. Check, right? Let's do the checklist. Let me say hi to the friends who came in later after we started reading. Right. Enilda. Hello, Enilda. Rita de Cássia. Adilson. Bianca. Angelita. And all the friends whom we don't see and who are here with us and are also on demand. So let's do a checklist first. Let's see where we are, because you know, life is all about this. There's no division between religiousness and life. Oh, but Vanessa, what about my work? What about... It's not about that. It's about life. Life is one whole thing. Our religion is not in the center, in the churches, in the temples. Our religion is in our hearts. It's inside. Right? So we need to see how unified we are. How unified are you? We need to ask. Are we divided? Conflicted? Are we? Hopefully not. Hopefully wherever we go, we can feel that sense of unity. But let's do the checklist, shall we? Like the apprentice with the master. After all, this is an encounter with the Divine Master. Let's not forget that today we are willing to feel that encounter of the Last Supper with Jesus. If you are watching this and you're not a Spiritist, don't be afraid. If you're not Christian, don't be afraid. The Jesus that lives is not the one at the cross. He's your friend, though you don't know. But he's a divine friend. And he comes the minute you say, I want divine information. He comes, delivers, and blesses us. Blessed is the son of superior knowledge. So is it worthwhile watching these talks, reading these books, meditating? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Knowledge, instruction is part of life. It's never too much, because knowledge and instruction and education you take to immortality. If you say, I wasted my time paying for the course, never, ever, ever. We are investing in our immortality. Even if you graduate at a university college, like a college or university level post-graduation, and you say, oh, but I've never practiced. Take it easy, take it easy. Life's much more than your eyes can see. Much more than you can see, my friend. This life is not about all we're thinking. We're collecting new knowledge, preparing for today and tomorrow. Not only for today, the tomorrow. Right? I never forgot when I moved from Brazil to the United States in 1998. And I used to teach already there at universities. And I came for a postdoc. And I wanted to teach, but I was invited to do research. I like doing research, but I was frustrated that I wanted to teach, because that has always been my passion, teaching, education. And even when I was a little kid, little, I would exchange tasks with my 4 brothers. I would say, if you are my student, I can make your bed. I can wash the dishes for you, as long as you're my student. And at the back of the house, in the backyard, I had a little room with a board, and my brothers became my students, and it was so much fun. But when I came to the United States, at first I was very sad. But I remember the mentor saying, Vanessa, what you are acquiring now is more instrument for later. More information, more experience for when you get back to teaching. And later, and he's right. When I got back to teaching, professionally speaking, really that experience, especially the emotional experience, helped me a whole lot. So nothing is wasted. We needed to know. Jesus comes to us and say, you want divine information? Blessed are you, because divine information is everlasting. Right? Julie is sharing with us, I know how my life changed, how my thoughts are different, how much happiness I see and feel since I started following these talks. Dear Pure Love, exactly, these teachings, right, Julia? These books are true healing for the soul. They're true healing. Hi, Chebi. Hello, Najla Loureiro. How are you? Where are you from, Najla? Do you mind sharing with us? We have this beautiful, right, Julija? Thank you, Julija, for being with us, sharing your loving heart. So, stop number 1 for the checklist. Search for divine information. Check. Number 2. He started understanding how to do, and he was in contemplative hope. And Jesus blessed him, saying, praised be the apostle of the ideal. And remember, Jesus comes, checks on us all the time. How are we doing? Like a mother to a baby on the crib, like, how you doing? Good. And sends what? Agents, messengers, to keep working with us at that level. There is never like, oh well, this person is not prepared, Vanessa is not prepared, so no. The divine friend, the master, is educating us. So first we want the divine information. Check. Agents come and help us. Then we start to contemplating that. Check. Okay, we're contemplating how we're gonna help spread the news. But this third step, now we know, and we start being, a little too fanatic, or to the point that we don't understand that, people are all searching for the same, and we have this passion inside of us. We want to do it, and we create these battles with people who are not like-minded. But the compassionate master comes. He does not reproach us. What does he do? He strikes our unquiet hands and says, helped be the defender of the truth. And he sends faithful missionaries to help. For example, you and I, if you're a spiritist and I am a spiritist, we need to be open in our meetings, in our centers, in our events, inviting people to talk about the commonalities with these teachings. Why? Because we are all searching for the same. We need to create less division, less separation, right? Righty. And Jesus sent helpers. If we feel, for the sake of spreading out, creating dissensions, he's saying, I'm gonna send helpers. And he gives us time. Can you identify yourself where you are already? Where are you? We're talking about different degrees in this escalation to being with the divine friend forever. Meanwhile, he's checking on us and sending friends, missionaries to help us. He comes back and he sees that the apprentice is different. Now he's preaching, he's sharing the news, he's going everywhere, writing books, traveling, and Jesus embraces. You see the nonverbal part of it? He's not a master that is distant. He's very close. The problem is if I am a close disciple or a distant disciple, because he's always a close master. Always. He's always embracing. He's always very caring. Gestures that go with words. More gestures. More nonverbal than the verbal. Jesus is not like a chatterbox. That's a sure thing. Enlightened be the minister of the heavenly word. So he always blesses. He goes, comes back, and says, meanwhile, valiant missionaries, stay with you. Years went by. He comes back and he sees the apprentice is changed. This time, he has wounds, scars from the journey. And what does Jesus do? Holds, no. Are you crying? Is it hard? What does he do? The sage of the sages wiped the apprentice's sweat and said, beloved be the pilgrim of experience. Oh, but it's so difficult. People come and say, man, I help people and people slander me. I do this and people... Jesus doesn't say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm going to protect you. He's going to send loving benefactors to help. He's going to be with us. But he's going to say, wonderful. You're becoming stronger. It's like a child and a parent. The child goes to school and say, oh, but the homework is so hard. But my friends are so difficult. What do? Be strong. You're learning, you're becoming more experienced. That's pretty much what the master was saying. Wonderful. You're gaining experience. That's wonderful. Wonderful. You're blessed, and for that you're much loved because you're helping others. And as Chico Xavier once said to one of his closest friends, Arnaldo Rocha, whom I came to know the year before he discarnated, believe it or not, Arnaldo Rocha was his spirit counselor. The spirit counselor, we call in Portuguese doutrinador, conselheiro. In a mediumistic meeting, the spirits who were suffering would come through Chico Xavier, and Arnaldo Rocha would be the counselor of the spirits, trying to help them change their mind, have a shift of their hearts. But you know, one day Arnaldo, who was close friends with Chico, said, "Oh, Chico, life has been hard on me because of this, that, and the other." And then Chico turned to him and said, "Good, Arnaldo." Said, "Good? What do you mean good? I'm suffering. It hurts." No, it's good because finally in this life you're being beaten up, but you're not beating up anybody. How many of us for lives we've been the ones giving the last word, telling people this, that, and the other, and finally we're learning how not to do that. Thank God we're not creating suffering. We hope, because we are. Often we do without noticing. But hopefully at the times we're suffering, one of the best parts of it is that we're not creating suffering. We're already going through the experience ourselves. Right? Thank you, Rita Di Cassia, for your loving heart. Thank you. I'm looking forward to see all of you who are close here in the United States, there in Orlando. By the way, we've been receiving some videos. If you still have a video and you want to win a trip to Orlando for the symposium, April 18th is the deadline. Send it to kardecradio@gmail.com, okay? And the prayers for the National Day of Spiritism, which has been created by the United States Spiritist Federation. All right. Now, can you recognize where you are at this point in the journey of the apprentice? From searching for divine information to now experiencing the hardships of really walking the talk? But there are 2 more steps, okay? So then, sometime later, he comes back. He comes back and he sees that the apprentice had gone through his own difficulties. Now the world is not his problem, but himself. He's crying inside of him because he realizes he wants to be better, like Paul of Tarsus. And he says, how often I want to do better, but I keep doing these things of the old man. Right? That's the level where he is at this point. The apprentice is suffering not because other people are doing A, B, C, D, but because he is not yet where he wants to be in his inner renewal. Is this where you are? What does Jesus say? Blessed is the brother of pain that sanctifies. And he sends contributors. You see the kindness of Jesus. He dries, forgive me because I forgot to say, he dries the tears of the apprentice. How often do you do this when somebody is crying? Oh, Vanessa, that's weird. Drying out the tears of people. Well, that is a most human attitude. Yes. Embracing when people are suffering. Yes. Caressing their head. And also drying the tears. You know, when you're drying the tears of somebody, this touch, feeling in our skin produces the release of several molecules in our body that are going to stimulate in our nervous system areas of the feeling of being comforted. It's activating areas in the brain regarding reward, regarding this inner joy. Endorphins are some of this. That feeling of binding to somebody, the bond we create, releases oxytocin, and they are very healthy for us. So when we're doing this, it's not only about drying the tears, but it's about this, it's almost like the healing touch. If we would just be more caring in that regard with people, people would be less sick. All the studies in science tells us that the more we embrace, we caress physically, and this is not a sexual approach, it's a non-sexual, it's a true loving, caring attitude. I go there and I caress, and by doing so I am releasing healthy molecules, promoting health. You have the medicine for somebody who is in your life. They will certainly need to see less physicians, take less medications. How often do people eat a lot of chocolate because they are feeling needy? No, don't feel guilty. Jesus very likely looks at you when you're eating a lot of chocolate and he's saying, oh, come here, you, and hugs you. Come here, you. I'm gonna give you my beautiful blessing, which is a coat of chocolate. Why not? Right? Why not? We're saying this because we know that's human on the earth. Finally, the climax. Let's see that level. The master comes back and he's admiring. He's like, what? He's renewed himself completely. He's not crying anymore. He's not complaining. He's not sad. He's silent. Look, number 1. Remember the Last Supper? This is a list of recommendations. Checklist. The quote, you love Rita Dicasso, you love chocolate? Ah, that's good to know. That's good to know. Now think about this. We're in this Last Supper of the Divine Friend today, and he's telling us checklist for daily exercises. Shall we? Hello, Vanya. How are you? Shall we do the list? First of all, he's renewed completely. Oh my. How? He prefers to be silent to listen to others. Number 1. 2, he analyzes the difficulties of others based on the difficulties he himself has experienced. Empathy. 3, he is sweet and spontaneous in his understanding. He does not humiliate anybody. 4, he sees everyone and wants to help without expecting any reward. 5, he understands the painful dramas of the neighbors. 6, he honors the elderly ones. 7, he protects the children and the youth. 8, he reads the sacred scriptures, but he finds eternal wisdom in nature. Have you been reading the sacred scriptures in nature? Have you, friend? That's the point. He rejoices with friends and shared the misfortunes. Envy, jealousy, spite, and anger does not bother him anymore. He doesn't need to forgive because he understands people. He prays for the opponents. He helps the ungrateful. He cries of joy when he is alone, praising God. He interprets his own pains and problems as means for his improvement. And he goes on and on and on and on. And to the point, he's surrendering and trying to find how he can best fulfill God's will on earth as it already is in heaven. When Jesus sees that, he holds this apprentice in the arms, heart to heart. Visualize it. You're receiving that hug. Yes. Feel it. We're feeling the scriptures, remember? Exercises to feel it. Give yourself a hug. Feeling the presence of the divine friend. And he says, blessed the faithful servant who seeks the divine will of our Father. Jesus' humility is unsurpassing. He's saying here that he is joyful because the disciples willing to follow God's will. Not Jesus' will, God's will. And what happens next? Jesus doesn't need to send emissaries, tutors, benefactors, agents. Why? Because now the apprentice has finally attuned and is there with the master, and the master remains with him forever, says the message. And we believe it? No, we know it. It's not a belief, it's certainty. I know it. It is true. It is true. Finally. So where do you think you need to tweak a few things to live with the Master forever? Where is it? Less complaining, more praising, more observant of the nature, more understanding of people, less expectations, less suffering regarding people's emotions, helping always, serving always. Where is it? Do you know? Tonight, we're going to stop here and meditate on this beautiful day when Jesus very compassionately stops for a moment and it outlines the recommendations. And the recommendation, the ultimate recommendation is God's will. Why? 'Cause I am a child of God. You are a child of God. You reincarnated to go to Orlando. Talking about reincarnation. Yes, because reincarnation, the path of progress. Reincarnation, the way to become good. Like the little lamb learning. Reincarnation, the opportunity to achieve true happiness. Happy, the Master is living with us forever. Thank you, God. May the will of God be on earth as it is in heaven. 12 encounters with the divine friend. and we are here together. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Enilda. Thank you, Sunshine. Thank you, Rita de Castro Edilson. Everyone. And until tomorrow, God willing,